is the author of a book called The World Walk 7 Years, 28,000 Miles, Six Continents, a Grand Meditation, One Step at a Time. Now I know why. Somebody poked a button there. Gotcha. Okay, here's one of only 10 people to ever have walked all the way around the world, which sounds very Forrest Gumpish to me. So I want to talk to him right now. Tom Tursich is the author. Hi, Tom.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. Did you have your dog with you the whole time?
I had her after 4 months of walking in the U.S., and I camped a bunch on my own in all these strange places, and I kept thinking, man, it'd be really nice to have a dog that could listen while I slept. So when I got to Austin, Texas, I went into an adoption center, and they brought out Savannah, who was, my dog, just as a little puppy. And I kind of knew right away she'd be the perfect fit. She would grow up on the road, no other life but walking. And so I adopted her right there, and then she walked 25,000 miles with me.
Okay, it's shocking to me. While I was reading your book, I'm shocked. You're literally in danger. You do realize that, right?
I was sometimes, yeah, certainly.
So I marvel at the fact that you took this journey on. What happened in your life that made you decide, I'm going to walk around the world?
Yeah, so I had a very close friend, childhood friend, pass away when I was 17. She was 16. And it was very formative for me. She was, in my mind, a much better person than I was, much kinder, more driven, smarter. And so when she passed, I realized, oh, man, I can go at any moment. And so then I started thinking about what are the things that I really want out of life, out of this one shot that I have. And when I reflected on that, I decided I wanted to travel. I wanted to be forced into adventure, to grow, and I wanted to understand the world. And then I also didn't have any money, so I looked for cheap ways to travel and eventually discovered these two guys who had walked around the world before, Steve Newman and Carl Bushby. And that idea of walking around the world just fulfilled everything I wanted out of life. And so then it became 8 years of saving and going to school and paying off loans and living at home until I was able to begin, and the rest is history.
Yeah, and so, I mean, it took you 7 years to do this. So how did you save up enough money to do it, or did you do things along the way? I mean, did you pander? How did you do this? Because you had to feed a dog, too, after a while.
Yeah, certainly. So I saved free for about 8 years from high school all the way until the day before I left, which was, or until I was 26, the day before I turned 26.
Yeah.
So I saved for about 8 years, and I had realistically probably enough money to bleed out for 2 years. But right before I began, luckily, I got a sponsorship, which I was hoping to kind of stumble across sometime when I was walking. So I got a sponsor. And, it wasn't much money, but walking, it doesn't cost much. I basically just paying for food and the occasional hotel. So, it's very modest living, but I had enough to pay for everything. And so very grateful to Philadelphia Sign, the ones who sponsored me.
Yeah. So were you a runner, a cross-country runner? Were you a walker before this? I mean, were you?
No, what's funny is I kind of hate running, and I actually kind of
That's why I'm so shocked.
Yeah, that's very different, though. Running and walking, I think, are very different things. And I backpacked a bit of the Appalachian Trail for about 10 days with a friend in college, and I actually didn't like backpacking either. I really did not like carrying 40 pounds on my back all the time. And so when I went, I pushed what is basically a jogging stroller, like a big baby stroller with all my things in it. And so that afforded me some more luxuries. And then when I was in the desert of Peru or Chile, I was able to carry enough water for me and Savannah and enough food for me and Savannah to get through these, 3, 4, 5-day stretches where we weren't around anything. So, strange in my history, no, not a runner, not really a hiker.
So you just felt like walking. He wanted to do it in honor of his friend. But truth be told, you needed a companion. A dog is the perfect one to do that. But, I mean, I'm sure you went through a lot of shoes, but Puppy probably needed to be in that stroller sometimes when the concrete was super hot. But there were just so many places that you went where everything is so different from like it is in the U.S. And I'm not talking about politics with you on this because I that's irrelevant to me. It's the incredible journey that you took. I want to know how you navigated through countries that are not safe.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the strange thing is, I mean, even countries that aren't, that much safer than the U.S. or a little more dangerous than the U.S., really, in reality, it's just people living everywhere. I think that was one of the primary lessons that was driven home to me. I remember before leaving, imagining waking up in El Salvador or Peru and thinking, this is going to be like a whole different planet. I can't even imagine what this is going to be like.
Right.
And then you get there, and then you're like, oh, it's just food and people going to work and hanging out with their family like everywhere else. And so, the food changes, the dress changes, the language changes, maybe the geography changes. But when you get down to it, it's just people trying to live their life. And so I think I was very reassured as I went on and as the years went by. I realized really how safe and calm the majority of the world is, And in the beginning, it was very stressful because I didn't have that lesson sort of worn into me. And there was nights where I did not sleep well, and I was always on the defensive sort of to make sure I was protecting me in Savannah. But yeah, as the years went on, you realize really most people are just trying to make a little money and hang out with their family.
Right. But they see this white guy and his dog, and they're probably like, what in the actual hell is happening? All right, so you had to go over some mountains.
Yeah, hundreds.
What was that like?
Exhausting, So I had my baby carriage, which probably on average maybe weighed 80 pounds with all the stuff in it. There's times when I was going over the Andes when it maybe weighed 100+ pounds with all the water in it that I needed. And, it's just a grind when I had to push up these mountains. And I was in incredible shape, especially in South America when I got to Western Europe and North Africa and over into Central Asia. It wasn't as mountainous, but in South America in particular, I was up and down the Andes constantly. And my back was very strong, my legs were strong, and you just learn to sort of turn off the pain in a way and just become mindless and just power through to get to the top. But when you get to the top there, it's the greatest feeling.
Yeah, you got to dig in. You need to go on one of those shows, one of those survivalist shows, and win yourself $1 million now. So when you got to Turkey, did you get to go to a wedding?
Yeah, in Turkey. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, with my friend Vedat, who I met in a little chai shop there. So I met this. I stopped midday at a chai shop to sort of get out of the sun and relax for a little bit, and I started talking with the man sitting next to me, and he was a very friendly guy. He invited me over for lunch. I went over for lunch, and they said, hey, like this town and the next town, there's a wedding between these two families. It's tonight at 7 if you want to come. And so I joined him, and it's just an incredible experience, incredibly warm. I was invited to another wedding in Uzbekistan as well, so I went to that just as I was passing by. But it's just like a great insight into, in a certain way, the culture. But then again, it's the same thing where you realize again, it's like it's just human stories everywhere. It's the love, it's the friends, it's the neighborhood, it's this brotherhood between men. And it's a beautiful, it's just like one beautiful reminder of after another that it's just people just living their lives everywhere. But it's great to, also an incredible honor to be invited to these weddings and a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was really jealous of that chapter. I'm not going to lie. All right, so you saw some things that, I'm glad people like you do it and take pictures so that I don't have to. Because I'm not capable. I absolutely adore the pictures of you and Savannah, who you dedicated the book to. I just love the pictures, and I'm so glad that you put them in there, so we get a little feel of it, because we can read it and our mind can go where we think you were, but to actually see it. And my favorite is just your little puppy in her little tank top looking over the water. It's so cute.
Yeah, she's a beast. And the photography was
so cute.
Yeah, she was amazing. She's my best friend and went through everything together. And the photography was just a a way initially to kind of pay people back. I had this fundraiser right before I left to help me pay off the last bit of my student loans, and then I felt indebted to people and said, all right, I got to get a camera and take photos. And kind of as time goes on and I'm seeing all these places, I realize I'm getting better at photography. And then it became this real joyful hobby for me to try and capture the unique beauty of every place. And so if you go into my Instagram or in the book, you can go through it and see how beautiful the world is, and it became really a joy for me to try and capture these places.
So, did you map out how you were going to get where you were going to get before you left?
Yeah, I had a pretty good idea. So I wanted to hit every continent. That was one of the main goals, and then I wanted to do that with as little visa trouble as possible, with as little bureaucracy as possible. Mm-hmm. So I was kind of nudged. My route was kind of decided by that. And then, the day-to-day, the week-to-week, the month-to-month, that is more figuring it out whenever I got into a country and see what the roads are like, what the trails are like, what the paths are like, and figuring that out as I went. But, yeah, pretty much I had the whole map planned out. And then it wasn't until when COVID hit and some countries closed, I wasn't able to get into Kazakhstan, Mongolia, and Australia, which I originally had hoped to get into, but COVID, they were closed, so it wasn't able to happen.
Stupid COVID. All right, just so stupid. All right, so, your family must have thought you lost your marbles when you said
my mom did, definitely.
Yeah. As a mom, I would be like, you can't just walk around the world. There's water in your way.
That's a hindrance, but there are planes now in both, so we make it work.
Well, and Australia is really far.
Yeah. No, I remember right before I left, my mom, like a week before I left, we were having Sunday dinner, and she was bawling her eyes out and saying, "Why can't you just walk across America?" I was like, well, that is a big adventure, but I wanted a bigger one.
Yeah, well, walking across Texas feels like you've walked across the world, so I'm sure that one was fun.
Gosh.
That
man.
Forever. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But, you have all these quirky little stories from each place that you went, and you're one of only 10 people to have done this in all times, but you did get one cheat. A lot of other people who've done it before you, they did not have cell phones. So you were lucky with that part, except in the mountains and the desert. It's not like there are towers out there.
No, it's true. I was the first person probably to do it with modern technology. And so even when I was really far away, I was still able to FaceTime friends or family when I would get to a hotel room. So, that kept me connected in a certain way. And I think it made it a lot easier emotionally on me. And then also I had Savannah, and Savannah's the first dog to walk around the world. So, she is she's a beast, and she was my companion through everything. And we'd have these really tough days. And then at the end of the day, I'd get to sit down, and she would come saddle up beside me, and we'd take in, how far we came. And I think that was the greatest boon, the greatest gift that I had, was just having her beside me through everything.
I know it is, too. I can just see her little head tilting while you're telling her the story of what you've done that day. I can just see it. I'm a German Shepherd lover, so, when you talk to your dog, their head tilts, and I can just see that happening. So you had to feed yourself, you had to feed Savannah. I know you were preparing by paying off your loans and getting money to do stuff, but airplane travel's expensive. Along the way, did you find generosity?
Incredible generosity. I think another one of the lessons, especially when I was in Central America in the beginning, so that first year down from New Jersey down to Panama City, when I was in Central America, it's a pretty dense part of the world, and there was times when I would need to camp on the edge of someone's property, just because I couldn't find somewhere else to sleep. And there was a bunch of times where I would get found out, and maybe at 5 a.m, a rancher gets up to move their cattle, or, whatever it is, someone gets up and spots me. And there wasn't a single time when someone, yelled at me or told me to get off their land. Probably 90% of the time they'd ask if I want to call for you to come in for breakfast, or, if I needed anything. And, this similar thing, I got given food and water and got put up all over the world, but it really caused me to reflect on that first year. It was like, would I do the same? And I would think, probably not. I don't think I would be as generous as they were being to me. I would probably be suspicious of someone sleeping on my land, and then I'd be miserly. And and defensive. And so it really forced me to reflect on who I was and then hopefully become nicer myself. I think I have become more generous, but it was a really, the generosity of the world was really eye-opening and just endless. I mean, when I was in those deserts of Peru and Chile and walking on this very lonely road every day, maybe 10 truckers that were the only people I would see would stop and give me fruit or water, make sure I was okay. So, yeah, it was
awesome.
It was endless.
That's amazing. And I only have a minute left, but I have to ask: are you trained in any sort of jujitsu or combat training?
No, not at all. I mean, if something had happened, Savannah ended up being way too friendly. So, if we had our hands pressed, we would have been in trouble.
Oh my goodness. That makes you a little crazier than I thought you were, Tom. I'm not going to lie. All right, so where do people get the book? It's absolutely fantastic. It's a journey across the world, and it's on foot. So if they want to get it, where do they go?
Yeah, Barnes & Noble, Amazon. It's The World Walk. So it's everywhere. It's a great adventure story. It's getting great reviews. And it's a great, I think, summer read, good beach read.
Yeah, and it's a quick read. It's a big book, but it's a quick read because you'll read a little bit, you get up, you'll snack a little bit, and you run back, and you read some more, and then you do something, you run back, you read some more. It's one of those, I was through it in 2 days because I read quickly, but it was a great book, dude.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what people were saying. They read it in a day or two. They say it's a very quick movie, which was the goal. Yeah. I want to give people the adventure. So
it does kind of read like a movie because you put the pictures in there. I love that.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Tom, and congratulations. I hope you sell 1 million copies.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
You're
Thanks for having me.
Bye-bye.